Shawty's like a melody in my heart that I can't keep.
Head.
Got me going like every day I'm going this way. I'm gonna go this way every day.
I play iPods.
What year was that song?
2008.
I
2008.
reckon it was about 2008.
2008.
A simpler time. What
When
would
all we
you
had in
say?
our head were shorties. Now we've got Brexit, crises everywhere.
Yeah.
Remember we just thought about shorties.
Now I'm lucky to snatch an hour to think about shorties. That is a treat.
If that.
Is that all this stuff in the news, all the world exploding? Just want to take you back to 2008, where the only thing I had on my mind pre the crisis,
Pre-crises. Like a melody.
in my heart that won't
Head.
stop. Well, we'll see. When people say it was a simpler time, and often in quite a comic way, it often wasn't a simpler time. Where would you say if you had to choose? You have to choose a definitive simpler time. You say what the time is. Pause. It was a simpler time.
When we were fish.
When we were fish, it was a simpler time.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have consciousness.
Yeah, I guess it was genuinely simple. I don't know. Yeah, I wonder. But then you could get eaten alive.
Yeah, but you weren't thinking that. You were just acting upon it.
Yeah, I guess.
Imagine
so.
not having to think, just having to act.
Yeah, I guess that is a simpler time.
Yeah, fish.
Yeah.
It's not a tough question.
Yeah. I guess I was thinking the 60s or something. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. You're talking very quietly. Is that because of the headphones?
It probably is because of the headphones.
Yeah.
I don't normally.
You're talking like a mute.
I'm talking like a radio guy.
As we discussed last time.
Yes. Yes. Well, last time we had an audio fuck up that a lot of the very nice listeners said it wasn't that much of an issue. Then we did an Instagram live. How did you enjoy the Instagram live?
I enjoyed the Instagram live. It was fun. It was amusing. I was a little bit hungover actually for it.
Yes.
And to power through.
Yeah. Watching it back, actually, I did see that you were sort of behind those glasses.
There were a couple of times.
You were zoning out a little bit.
And there were a couple of times where I was not listening to you.
Yeah, I could tell.
And I suddenly snapped back and realised I was live on the internet for a bit. And really just had to flounder at anything
It
that
looked
happened.
a couple of times like you just thought you were looking over my shoulder at my phone, just kind of zoning out.
And that, which
and just
isn't
streaming out live.
which isn't the ideal state, but we're professionals.
It's been a tough week for us because we found out that a school teacher who we don't remember was a pedo. Always exciting when you find out someone at your school was a paedophile. That seems to be. You get a thrill. It's thrilling. It's obviously
You see the headline and you think, "Do I know them?"
Do I know them? It's
it
you
one of the
can't
big
help
guns?
as much as it's clearly
Horrible.
It's undeniably thrilling when you see your school in a headline pedo because you're like, who's it going
to be? And you're going in with your own suspicions.
Who's it gonna be?
You've got your theories before you open that page.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was someone that
no
one knows.
Even though he was at the school when we were at the school.
His name rings a slight bell, but
Mr. Gardner, he was just probably one of those people who was very like.
Well, if he was any good at doing what he was doing, he'd want to be known by as
I guess
few
so.
people as possible.
I guess so, but I also it must be hard when you're a teacher. If someone does get accused of paedophilia, is your name going to be put in the mix by students?
What do you mean?
Well, when we were discussing who we wished it was, or who we thought it probably would be.
Yeah.
As a teacher, imagine having your name put first in the ring as being a definite.
Well, it was a private conversation. They wouldn't ever hear.
No. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying imagine that as just a concept.
Yes. It's a tough concept to grasp.
It is a tough
because they
concept.
didn't say the papers didn't go, there's a pedo at college. We don't know who it is yet. Everyone cast your vote.
Yeah.
There was a name. There was a name and it was, okay, it's them. There wasn't any confusion.
Yeah. No.
But because it looked to be one of those things Was it it wasn't a relationship, was it?
I really like the idea of
The police.
No, I really like. Yeah, the police come in to like Monday morning assembly.
Yeah.
And they're like, right,
One of yous is a pedo.
we're gonna cast votes.
We don't know who yet, but we know it's one of you teachers. So can all the pupils cast a vote, and the 95% of the pupils who have never been sexually abused just taking a punt.
Yeah, just taking a punt. Someone's career taken away just because he's unfortunate looking.
Like he's a bit lanky, that guy.
He's a fucking pedo.
Yeah, he has a PE teacher.
Do you remember at school when someone did a poo in the star shower?
Yes.
Yes, and then the headmaster.
Poogate.
Do you think that's what you've said?
I think it must have been Mr. Gardner.
Probably.
Probably was.
But you know, you just use poo gate, and you've said many times that the gates are used too often. Or do you think this was enough of a?
Of course, it's enough of a gate.
So this is enough.
There was a school-wide incident as to who was it that did a shit in one of the school toilet showers. Of course, that's a gate. That for a school, that's a gate for all the pupils at the school. I still think we don't know who it was.
We don't know who it was. There was like it was just like a very like neat poo.
Yeah.
It wasn't messy at all. So it was just kind of like a drawing of a poo almost.
Yeah.
And then the way that I think there was like, you've got till the end of the day to come and own up who did it.
And there won't be any retributions, which is never true.
Did they say that?
Well, I don't know.
I don't think that's what they say. I remember being really stern about it in assembly.
They didn't say it in front of the whole school.
No, there was, because it was like a big
But
thing.
it was in one house. It would be mental if they said it in front of the whole school. If there's one incident in one house and they brought everyone in the school, including the nursery kids in.
Or maybe I'm getting mixed up with something else that happened. But it's happened many times at school where there's been a big incident. No one's been.
Yeah.
There's no culprit, and then there's an assembly saying you have to the end of the day. And I think that's how you should weed out the pedos.
Yeah.
Was the convoluted way I was trying to get at that point.
Yeah. Again, I think you've struggled with the concept of what's happened here. The concept of a police investigation with...
I think the better way is to go like, right, one of you molested a child.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stay in my office
Again,
till 6 p.m.
it'll be tough to get to that stage without knowing who it was. Again, but sure. So
I think you shouldn't be listening to the victim as a rule of thumb. You
heard that here first.
They're telling you who it was, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do my own research.
I believe you were sexually assaulted. I just don't believe you that it's the person you're saying.
Right, one of you. Who was it?
Well, I'm interested because this is one of the few times I'm sad we're not at school at this point, because I'd love to see how they handle this.
Yeah.
Just the drama in the school would be great for a week.
I think you should have a right to be able to, like, just if you're an old pupil of the school,
to come back for this assembly.
You should be allowed to audit. You should be allowed to wander around the school as just an older pupil.
But that's how you get pedos at school. Okay. You're not. Do you understand what's happening here? I feel like you're not properly grasping the situation.
Yeah. I don't know. I've actually been a bit. My wires have been quite crossed all day. Actually.
It's fucking showing.
Yeah, because I try to post a stand-up clip, and it's the most stressed I get is trying to get all the subtitles posted at the right time, do all those things.
Yeah.
And do all of that stuff, and it's never
more stressful than being convicted for paedophilia. As a
more
school
stressful.
teacher. Yeah,
more stressful.
No, fair. That wasn't a leading
and a lot
question.
of my friends are paedophiles, so we've discussed at length, and they go, "Fuck, I wouldn't want to be doing that.
I want to be there from jail, other side of the bars."
God, I'm glad I'm on
filthy, mate. Jesus, how long have we got there?
But it definitely frazzles my wires.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think. If you all get a pass.
Strangers should be able to wander around.
Not strangers.
School. Well, yeah, they
get
are.
a pass, and so you have
if
to
you're
wear
alumni.
Alumni. You're allowed to then, because it would be nice to like see when you're at school, see people who have come. It's always fascinating what's happened to people who've been at the school.
Yeah,
and it's very rare you ever got to meet those people. So just having like just strangers in normal clothes wandering around, like, that's where I might be.
That's what's still at the school. Still wandering around the school in their spare time.
Just wandering,
which you probably
pair of
could.
blokes.
But you probably could. You can go and sign in and then have a look around the school.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, just make it more of a cultural thing, because I feel
let's have a group of 40-year-old men just hanging out next to a school playground,
but like,
smoking cigars, reminiscing about the good times of the school, just so they could go. That could be us in 30 years.
So then you can have little places around the school where they can hang, not like designated areas, because I think the funny thing
not
is that
designated hand spots.
they can like they can like take up room.
Girl showers. Anywhere.
It's the old people. It's the old boy privilege.
Yeah. Sorry, love. Holds up an alumni card.
You'll have to audit classes. You'll have to sit at the back. Just wonder.
I would like to go get some free education again.
But just walk in, like hang around for like 3 minutes and go, nah, and just walk out. I think that's what I'll be doing. Just kind of hang out for a bit and go, nah.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be nice when you're sitting in class.
I think that's exactly what it would be.
It would be nice. And you know when you're sitting in class and it's like middle way through a period, so it's very quiet out. Just be able to just see, just like old random dudes, just like, or women, or they,
or them,
walking about the grounds.
Yes, it would be lovely.
But then they'd all have to be called back if there was a pedo investigation.
And then you have some issues. I think that somewhat sullies the security of the school and then any investigations. I think the incidences of paedophilic sexual assault would drastically increase if we adopted your policy of allowing anyone who went to the school into the school and be allowed all access to all areas at any time. Just because pupils halfway through a lesson can look up and it will be nice.
I think it's more than nice. It's more profound than nice. I think it creates unity between time. You know.
Yeah, and it's all about the unification of time.
And also, I think there's a lot of hope when you're a child about what the future will bring.
Bring down expectations. I think. Yeah, okay, I can see that.
I think normally, and it's just having people who clearly have got nothing else to do but hang around and realizing it could be a motivating factor. Like, I don't want to be back at this school.
Hanging around. Because I've got nothing else to do. I think another problem with this plan is think about the kind of people who are actually going to hang around the school.
Pedos.
Well, that's definitely half of the population at least. But school hours are during working hours.
So unemployed drinkers.
Booze heads, drug hounds.
Yeah, and also, so you're not allowed to take drugs or drink on school property and in school time, but old boy privileges. They're allowed to sit at the back of Miss Williams' maths class and sink as many tinnies of Stella as they want. But I think it's also a respect to, like, you've completed your time at school.
Yeah.
It's like you've been gifted the rights to, like...
And that's what everyone wants as a gift to once they've completed school, the complete access to come back to school.
You've been disciplined throughout your whole time.
Do you think there's any reason why someone would... Okay, there might be a nostalgia thing if you want to go back to your school a few years after, 10 years after. But you want people... You don't just want people to visit. You want people to hang out there during school hours.
To wander.
I know, wandering. But then how often is one individual going to come back and wander at school?
I think that there'd be a lot of lost souls who will just be like chilling out.
Have you had a really bad day and you just want to go back to school and remember the good times?
I don't want to go. I would go back to school if it was to wander.
Yeah.
And just kind of like freak people out.
Again, you would be able to.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
I think it's a policy that isn't necessarily needed that much, particularly at the time that one of them's being convicted as a paedophile.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think it reminded me as well of my favourite person at our school was the archivist. Or John the archivist, was it?
John Williams, the
John
archivist.
Williams. So
John the archivist Williams.
There's something really funny about the concept, is that there was this tiny fucking room in our school which was filled with a mixture of scrolls and books. And I don't know, I never actually went in there. Have you ever been in the archivist room?
Think I briefly walked past when the door was open.
Yeah.
So I got a glimpse into the archives. I've never dived into them.
And then there's one archivist, obviously. I think it's probably a voluntary position, probably.
Sure.
And what was funny is because he's the oldest man I've ever seen in my life.
He was, yeah.
So there's just something funny about the fact that he's the oldest person at school.
What man more fitting to look after the archives than who was alive for when most of history occurred?
I think that could be a good show, though. The Archivist.
Because it sounds like something it's not.
But it's such a...
It sounds like the Machinist, or... No, that's a film.
Something, yeah.
Whatever. The Punisher. It sounds something like that. But it's
the Archivist.
It's actually just an old man arranging files.
You mean like a Vin Diesel film?
Yeah, yeah.
The Archivist.
But it's John Williams.
Let's put you in the book.
But it's actually just John Williams in a small room arranging files.
But it's like a heartbreaking thing because it's an incredibly lonely job because he sees people come and go and he stays and he doesn't have anyone else to do it with.
No, other than his files. He doesn't like people. He likes documenting them.
Well, I think growing up, you have a very different look on teachers as being much more sadder individuals than you remember.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it makes sense why they always had the air of authority and togetherness. You're like, it makes sense why a lot of these things. Like a lot of drinkers were at our school as teachers. There was a lot of alcoholism.
I think a few. I think you also have a too negative view on teachers. Some of them do just like to teach and are quite happy, well-rounded individuals.
Yeah, some of them for sure. I remember the librarian who used to ride with a two-seater bicycle and a book basket at the front.
Oh
Remember
yeah. That was.
I think about her quite a bit. There's a two-seater bike with only one person on it.
Yes. Yeah. Tandem bike.
Tandem bike.
And
that is
that's something.
If you're a librarian as well.
A librarian. Well, I guess if you're a librarian, it's better to actually lean into kind of the stereotype of it, rather than trying to pretend you're someone who would ride a single bicycle.
It's true. But talking of Sussex, from where we hail, one of our own was in a car crash. Katie Price.
Katie Price she was in a car crash.
What a loss.
Katie Price met my mum.
Did she?
Yes, and I say that correctly. My mum didn't meet Katie Price. She met my mum.
Okay. Yeah.
Because my mum was the secretary for the nursery reception year 1, year 2 area of the school. Humble brag. And Katie Price was considering sending her kids there. So she didn't send them in there because my mum did a terrible job. Horrible face to the college.
What was Katie Price like?
Jordan, yeah. She was polite, as you would expect to be when looking at a school for your kids. There wasn't much interesting things about her, to be honest.
Did she have a bra on and had it like hosed down? So it was like.
As in like wet t-shirt.
Yeah.
I think mum would have mentioned that.
I just imagine that's her every morning, like fucking she's late. It's just to pour a bucket on her white t-shirt.
Get full makeup and then.
No, Katie Price is one of those legends, because she's kind of a lot of people who have done it since are truly trash. Yeah. But she's not trash because she's one of the first to do it in that way. She's kind of like the top of her field, and she's adapted with the time. She got through a curveball. She had an severely handicapped child.
Still does.
With Prader-Willi syndrome. Prader-Willi syndrome, which means you obsessively eat. But she adapted. And she was kind of one of the original content makers.
She is, and she does have a knack of staying in the news.
What was the car crash as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She apparently she was having. She's had some problems recently, I've heard, from my mum. And she...
Will they stay in touch?
Yeah, of course. Of course. You don't forget my mum. And then she was having a couple of drinks, going through a bit of a tough time. I believe she also had some cocaine and then got in a car to go see a friend and basically flipped it. So she's in like prison at the moment. She could be... the famous people have a way of not being sentenced to anything.
They never seem to. Don't see them in the orange jumpsuit very rarely.
No, because basically
it takes like a Cosby. And Cosby got out.
Cosby got out. Everyone's getting out. But because I think her lawyer's trying to get the sentence delayed because as soon as what they're trying to do there, it goes out of the media cycle and all of our consciousness, and then it'll be less outrageous if she got off with nothing.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get the sentence delayed, and will probably succeed.
We've all done a bit of Chang. We've all fucking ridden our four-wheel drives.
Our four-wheel drivers straight off into a bush.
We've all done it. Let's stop acting so holier than thou.
Exactly.
Fucking Katie Price.
Get her out. Let her off. Free Katie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she crashed it quite badly. I think she's in prison at the moment, or a holding cell. And we'll see we'll give you live updates as they happen. Even if we're not on the podcast.
Live text.
Drop your numbers in the comments. We'll text you these updates.
But yes, elsewhere in the news, the new James Bond is out. Are you at all excited for No Time to Die?
I am actually.
Are you actually?
I am genuinely, because it's by that director that I can't pronounce. It's like Karis Joy Fuki. I don't think it's Fukuyama.
Yeah, the one who did True Detective.
He's a banger.
Yeah, he's good.
He's a great director, and it's got good reviews. And
I think No Time to Die is a silly name.
Why, have you got Some Time to Die?
It's a bit too like.
Have you got Some Time to Die?
No.
Well, there you go.
No time.
Neither does Bond. James Bond.
It's like, because Bond's obviously moved away from its more cliche things, but I think No Time to Die is a bit too like James Bondy Bond. You know, it's just like
I don't want to repeat the same question I've already asked, but no, it's got that director who I love. True Detective is maybe my favourite TV season ever.
Yeah.
He did Maniac, which wasn't as good, but still fun, with Emma Stone and
Didn't he direct
Jonah
the last
Hill.
Bond?
No.
Okay.
No, he did not. And Anna de Armas, who is maybe the sexiest woman on the planet.
At the moment, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm into it. Apparently it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is too long. But the critics have been...
no time.
No time. He's got all the time in the world to die. We've been here for 2.5 hours and he's got no time
it's
to
gonna
die.
be as crass as being like someone takes a shot and he goes, I'm not going to tell you again. I've got no time to die.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping he uses that line at least 20 times if it's a 2 hour 45 minute film.
Just keeps doing it.
I didn't want to have to tell you again. Not the best joke.
I think if I was making a film called No Time to Die, that a title as strong as that, I would focus it like unbelievably about the time thing. So it's like the final battle happens on Big Ben as the clocks are going down. He's got to try and stop it reaching midnight on Big Ben, or else the world explodes.
Or he's in a massive hourglass and the villain is flipping it over and is filling up with sand. And then Pussy Galore comes in with a laser. He can then get through the glass. And he goes,
no time to die.
Thank you. I didn't actually have any time to die.
What keeps like never says it properly.
No. So yeah,
always says variation.
You really helped me out there
because I was.
I don't actually have any time to die. Yeah. No, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be good. I think the only one I've enjoyed properly is Casino Royale. I think we both agree on that. It's a banging film, and I think it might be as good as that.
Yeah, Quantum of Solace might have been the worst one.
Quantum of Solace is a bag of shit.
It's a real bag of shit.
It's a bag of dog shit.
It's a handful of shit.
Just like a big lump of lard.
But best Bond song? The Alicia Keys one.
Which one's that?
And Jack Black.
I don't know. When was that?
There was for Quantum of Solace is the best Bond song by quite a way, actually.
I really like the Adele one because...
Live and Let... No, that's the
Beatles.
That's the Beatles one.
In like the 80s.
No, it's the other one. But yeah, carry on.
I really like the Adele one just because there's a really good drum break in it. And the sky fall when it starts
That's
and nothing
goes.
It's a very good drum break. It's very cool. Oh, but it's the Billie Eilish one. I fucking love it. I think it's a banger.
Well, you're a big Billie Eilish fan.
Yeah, she's very talented. So's her brother.
Yeah. I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I've gone off for a bit. It seems because it's a bit tame now.
Yeah, because that's a thicker way to view things.
Yeah, and I'm not liking the new stuff either.
It's a bit tame.
It's a bit just fucking like... But, fair enough. But I find with James Bond fans, though, that's a lame fandom. It's too...
The Bond heads.
Yeah, Bond heads. I think that's not ideal. But Bond heads, because it's so British, they fall into a different category. But there is a type of British nerd that's a specific... Like Doctor Who fans. Like, we all... There's like famous, like, nerds globally... With Star Trek nerds, Star Wars nerds, but that's like a global phenomenon, and it's like the American nerd archetype is so clear.
I agree.
You know what the American nerd archetype is, Can and stuff like that. But the British nerd archetype, there's a annoying level of whimsy and quirkiness that makes it slightly worse somehow, and it functions around. Doctor Who is the ball with which.
Okay, yeah, because I agree, but let's not compare Bond fans to Doctor Who fans.
No, I'm saying that actually they operate in the same universe.
I had an outburst the other day about Doctor Who, which. I was doing it to Adam, and he looked and was like, "Have you ever said that out loud before?" And I hadn't.
What did you say?
How shit Doctor Who is.
It's not good.
How has it lasted this long? How has it got any fans rather than
loved it.
Like the biggest
really
amount?
Liked it.
I saw through it when I was 7 years old. I saw.
You hated that kind of stuff.
It's trash.
No, I quite liked it. I liked it too.
And my God, I know it's the BBC.
It's very BBC.
I know it's the BBC, but how in this day and age are they still... How are the special effects so bad?
They are bad.
How... It's like if we were tasked to do sci-fi. We try our best, but we don't have the budget for it.
Well, what?
I don't understand how they think it's acceptable to still put 70 special effects on our screens today.
Yeah.
Daleks are still midgets in a costume.
Yeah, admittedly, because I thought the Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant Doctor Who, there was some really quite interesting episodes there. I still think there's some.
No, there wasn't. You're lying.
No,
There's no interest in
the
it.
Stone Angels.
They've done every idea possible.
Yeah.
Very half-heartedly, because it's a family thing, so they
Yeah.
can't dive into anything too much. They run around, and it's the same story every time. The special effects are obscene, and all the acting looks horrible because of how it's shot.
No, I think there was some pretty cool storylines that blew my mind when I was younger, but I do admit that the special effects are quite.
But how? How have they? It's harder to do those special effects than it is to do half-decent ones nowadays.
Do you think it's a personal style?
It looks to be. Maybe they're trying to go for a nostalgic vibe, but they've been nostalgic towards shit.
Yeah, I think what is quite sad is that the big enemy, is a Dalek, and the Dalek does look like shit. It's not scary at all.
It looks like shit. It sounds like shit. It's got no kind of merit to any horror.
It really
doesn't.
Weird.
Oh no, the Daleks are here.
It does look like Henry the Hoover.
And also, he's defeated the Daleks maybe 100 times. Part of horror and being, I guess it doesn't have to be horror.
No.
Yeah, it's just like it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Doctor Who knows the Daleks and the Cybermen like the back of his fucking hand.
Daleks, they and the Time Lords have fought for many, many millennia since the beginning of time. I think.
Exactly, and I'm bored of seeing it. It doesn't mean that we need to watch him fight for it for millennia, because that's what Doctor Who seems like. And obviously the fans, lame as shit. Like I think Potterheads, that's a red flag. If anyone says they're a fan of Doctor Who, I honestly will just stop talking to them. That's it. There is no relationship that we can possibly have.
So in fandom, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Potter,
all,
do you want to list them?
All lame, but what in terms of red flags and terribleness? Okay. Do you want to top to bottom? Doctor Who is off the charts. If you're a big Doctor Who fan, I honestly believe I'd just go, I'm going to stop you there and walk away. Because there's nothing else.
Okay, let me throw this at you. What about Sherlock fans? You know
the series with...
Yeah. So like, there's people who wear the...
Wait, but are they just not Sherlock Holmes fans? Or are they specifically
the modern franchise?
So are we distinguishing between Sherlock fans and Cumberbitches?
There's a huge crossover and it's where they started. So and it's written by the same dude. A lot of Stephen Moffat wrote both Sherlock and the latest season of Sherlock I really hated. I actively hated
when he walks off the helicopter to "I Want to Break Free." It's a weird moment.
Yeah.
No. Okay, I don't like Andrew Scott that much either.
Do you think he overacts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he overacts the shit out of everything.
That's a controversial thing, but I do actually think
he overacts so much, and that makes it. He's one of those guys, like for me, the Steve Buscemi, who I just can't not see him as Steve Buscemi.
Okay.
Because he overacts so much, it's like that just seems to be him.
Well, you know what? He seems to be actually in a similar mold to the Tom
Hiddleston. All that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think Andrew Scott's a bit overrated. It's just always.
I think he's shit. I don't think he's shit.
I'm so fucked up. My character's so damaged.
And God, when...
Well, why don't you look under your chair and maybe you'll find the answer.
The worst thing in the world...
God. What?
Yeah, the worst thing in the world is when he plays someone who's a bit... I guess it's a villain when he played, because him as Moriarty was the most disappointing, because other than that, it's good acting performances.
Yeah.
Him as Moriarty was the worst thing I've ever seen. I remember that was my first introduction to Andrew Scott, and I said, because I didn't know there was the big thing about him, I said to someone, I was like, well, Moriarty's a bit shit, it's a bit disappointing, and I got, what?
Yeah,
he's
Andrew
fantastic. It's like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not good at all. He's not scary, because he's just like, you're like, are you all right, mate? Why? Why are you doing all this? It's weird.
But he was part of the generation with Tom Hiddleston and stuff, and I think they both come from the same smug British school of acting.
Yeah.
Which is like, you can see they enjoy it too much.
Yeah.
Like Robert De Niro, as much as he keeps working, and he says he doesn't look like he's enjoying himself.
Absolutely.
And that's why he's so good at acting.
Yeah.
It's because it looks like it's a real work day and he's putting a shift in.
Yeah.
Hiddleston and Scott, they're every moment they're thinking, this is fucking amazing.
They're having fun. They're having fun with it.
This is amazing fucking. And I think they
Someone's
have
like-
that thing where they're like, they really are trying to blow the mind of the people who are on like the boom.
They're already thinking about the reviews.
I think it's even more close, short-term narcissist to them. They want the boom guy to go.
Wow. Yeah. Jesus. This guy can act. And it takes you completely out of it.
Yeah.
I think, Andrew Scott. So I put Andrew Scott fans above Doctor Who.
Oh my god, that's a huge.
Andrew Scott
what
fans.
about, Fleabag? That's quite a cool show.
It is,
people
yeah.
like the Hot Priest and stuff.
And that was his best role.
Okay.
That was his best role.
That was the least he acted.
That was the least he acted because it was because I think he's trying to go for he should be in BBC dramas.
Okay.
He shouldn't do anything
High
other than
stakes
that.
BBC dramas.
No, low stakes. Fleabag wasn't high stakes.
Well, it's not a drama, is it?
Okay, yeah,
So
it's a
it's a
comedy. Yeah,
dramedy.
okay, yeah. He can be in dramedies as well.
Yeah.
But anything where he has, Andrew Scott should never ever play a villain again in his life.
Okay. Who should he be playing then?
Who should he be playing? He should
I'll
be.
tell you who
He should be playing just blokes, so he doesn't do all these.
I'll tell you what Andrew Scott would be like a really thick farmer's son who always gets things wrong.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I want.
I could see him in the next Dumb and Dumber.
That's what I don't like him playing someone who's smart. Who the character's whole point is that he's smart.
I think
If he's the dumbest guy in the room, I'll watch Andrew Scott and I'll watch him happily.
Because then he can kind of use those facial expressions to kind of a comedic bit, like, oh.
Yeah, as opposed to being like, I actually know what's going on.
I've got problems. I think you'll find. I hate it, man.
Yeah, I think the Sherlock fandom spilled over from Doctor Who. It got a huge amount of Asian. It was like a huge influx of Asian fans, and to them, I'm like, fair enough. I maybe it's not lame. I don't know, but for British Sherlock fans, that is the worst ones for sure.
It is lame. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't have a cult following, does it?
It does. Yeah. It does.
Really?
Yeah. And they're similar. They work in the same things. But I just think of the kind of these British artifacts of like pop culture. Obviously, James Bond isn't as lame, but it's a certain type of like, it's normally insecure men in a different way.
Yeah,
they're not like, because Doctor Who fans are under no illusions they're fucking losers.
It's escape. Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Are they?
I knew people like a good friend of mine at uni was the president of WhoSoc.
WhoSoc.
Doctor Who Society.
Therein lies the problem.
And I liked him. He was very open, but he knew he was a nerd, and he would they would record their own audio things of fan fiction.
Look, we live in an age where nerdiness is becoming kind of semi-synonymous with coolness in some senses. You can be a nerd.
There's a blur. Yeah. And are you saying we should go back to when?
No, I'm saying why choose Doctor Who to nerd out about?
Yeah.
Choose something else. Choose something that has substance.
Yeah.
Choose something that's interesting.
Yeah.
Don't
like
choose
Avatar: Legend of Aang or something like that.
Absolutely. I'm an Avatar nerd. I'm still viewing.
You're an Aang head.
I'm there. I'm looking for. I'm actually on the book 3 conclusion this evening.
Of Aang.
I've just finished Korra.
Thrilling.
I need some Avatar
Of
in my life.
anything that I wish I could have my brain
it's
wiped
good.
so I can watch it again.
Yeah, oh, mate, me too. It's because it's just top quality TV. Doctor Who is not.
Yeah.
It's not. And there's lots of philosophy within Aang and all of this stuff.
Not Doctor Who.
Not Doctor Who. It's just, we're going to play with... there's a Dalek. Zap.
And I'm like, I'm surprised that Doctor Who, they never say like Doctor Who much as like a thing, but I think the big line is I think the final resolution should be Doctor Me.
Yeah. And then all the previous doctors come in.
And they go...
Who are you? I'm Doctor Who. Who?
Doctor Me.
Doctor Me.
And that's
where the franchise concludes.
That's how you conclude the franchise. That's how you conclude a franchise.
A franchise.
But yeah, James Bond is a type of a different cross section of British society, and it's quite interesting culturally, because it started in the 50s based on a spy novel from like the 40s or 30s or something, and
you sounded like a bit of a Bond head now, aren't you?
What is it interesting because it's like it is a symbol of British impotence.
Yeah,
and the it's like a balding man.
Yeah.
Wearing like a feather fedora.
Yes. Or
Britain had a full head of hair.
Yeah.
Up until the 2 World Wars, and then it started rapidly declining.
Well,
but if you don't get the metaphor, it's GDP is and global influence in general. Just moving from a global power to a regional power is when you finally the hair's going back. But I think James Bond showed the move from like being politically powerful to being like now all of the global influence will be through culture and films and music and stuff.
To use the bald man analogy, it's like
Please,
if you wouldn't mind. It's like a bald man writing a character that has loads of hair and fucks lots of women. That's what it is.
That is Britain is post-war Britain is a bald man.
Ian Fleming is a bald man who wrote a character who has loads of hair and fucks loads of women. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So anyone that then jumps on that, if that strikes a chord with someone in real life, you're worried.
Yeah, you're worried because there's just something funny to me as it's like it just sums up everything post-war Britain perfectly because it is a success. People love it globally, but that's the only way that Britain can now be a global force is through
a character that was meant to make up our insecurities
about
our declining power.
Yeah, it fully is painting over the crap.
Actually.
It really is. You know, the 60s, all Britpop and British invasion, that was the kind of thing. But underneath it was a heavily declining...
Which is the genius of it in some sense, because it's us convincing ourselves that we still mean something. That character has been incredibly powerful throughout the rest of the world.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly big franchise.
And I think Britain...
And that maybe sums up Britain...
You know, there's some like, you know, Germany post World War II shaved their heads off. You know, they shaved their hair off.
Yeah.
Britain has our hair's receded so
really,
far. We've got Britain as a country
like the
has has a ponytail.
Oh, one of
the
them.
back,
yeah,
and that's all that's left. And has never shaved any of it off.
Never shaved anything. Yeah, America
and has taken some of the hairs.
Yeah,
and pinned and stuck them forward in an attempt to try and create the
illusion. Like a comb over. I think
that's not even a comb over.
You're saying too little.
I'm saying all they've got, the only hair they've got is the back bit. They've ponytailed it. They've let it go
yeah.
They've taken some of the rest of it.
And then
they're trying to flip
like
it
a few strands.
So it's like a forward comb over.
Yeah, like a few strands coming down here. No, it adds up.
That is what Britain is now because we refuse to accept that we're bald.
Yes.
Shave it off like any honourable person would.
Absolutely.
And it's still holding on. And James Bond is just a part of that. You know, James Bond's coming out in cinemas this week during a fuel crisis.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the definition
That is
of
it,
Britain.
yeah. Yeah, but we still got spies though. It adds up. I like the hair analogy because we could see America after the post-war luscious golden locks.
Oh, great head of hair.
But as they're starting to enter their 50s, it's starting to recede.
They've held on well, but it's starting to
there are signs that it's starting to recede.
Very small, you know.
Yeah.
And it still looks distinguished, but it's going.
Sure, but it's in a honest way. It's actually a very helpful international relations metaphor.
I think that's
one to consider.
You know, China's got so much hair, their eyes at brows are bushy at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe they had hair growing problems when they were younger.
Yeah.
But then they started taking a few tablets.
Yeah. And then now Greece is literally like a hairless, like an alien got plumped out of like a breeding machine and is all covered in gel and is so bald. Yeah. That's what Greece is now, just shivering.
Just shivering, yeah.
Well,
there you go. I think it all adds up.
That is the perfect way to analyse James Bond. But yeah, I'm always suspicious of people who like James Bond too much. But you know, they're great fun films, so also have no shame in enjoying them. You know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then, but when they get it right, like Casino Royale, they get it right, and it's a roller coaster from start to finish.
I want Nolan to. I think Nolan's failure with Tenet. Well, even though I want to watch it again because it was a fucking hilarious film.
Yeah.
I think now that he's gone off the boil a little bit. Maybe he's got one. He's one of the film that I think he needs. Or she. I think it's inevitable he's should direct a Bond film. It's about when he's creatively spent. We're just trying to wait till he's finished with his ideas.
So do you think
Tenet was his last?
Who do you think the next Bond actor should be?
This is an interesting debate.
Should it be a woman?
Definitely not a woman.
You would definitely not a woman. Why definitely not a woman?
I think they need to make sure they're a posh
other
white
than
man.
your obvious sexism.
Apart from my obvious misogyny. I think it's such a weird war. I don't know are there many people strongly I don't understand anyone who because you're just asking for trouble. One, the film will be shit. I'm sorry to tell you now. There's no way you get a female Bond in and the film is an absolute cack. It's not even saying that you just know that the forces that would have to be at play to get a female Bond across the line will mean that it's going to lose a lot of creativity and it will be like a very much more corporate thing. You just know it's going to be shit.
Potentially.
Do you think it would be a good film with the female Bond?
I think it
under the huge pressure that it would be under.
It'll be a lot. I think the stress of it would be ginormous.
I just know that it won't deliver, and it have to deliver so hard. And
Well, you do like. I think
my
that's why they
point-
got Phoebe Waller-Bridge in for
Yeah,
this
fine.
one. Like,
but I'm like,
she could
James
take
Bond,
the-
it's like, create a new franchise with a great, strong female character or something like that. But I don't think James Bond needs to change. And it's also like, I think people need to be like, with the balding British man, like, these are men who have, you know, there's rightfully a lot of power has been taken away from them. Just let them have James Bond.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the world's changing. And, you know, it's scary for old white men who used to run everything. Now that that's slowly starting to change, it's really scary for them. And though it should happen, they need to have their little fantasies.
Do you think?
I just don't think women need James Bond.
I feel
like a lot of men, especially older white men, they need James Bond.
I think your vision of Britain is white bald men coming back from being racist at a coal mine, come back home, sit down, and go, well, at least I've got James Bond, and then put on Casino Royale.
But I think it's just the general thing with the conversation around it is like, I understand why it's happening and I get the arguments for it, but you don't want it as badly as you're doing it to make a point, and I think it will just fuck the thing. It'll make them so angry, it'll make them so upset. Just let them have their fantasy where they can run around and pretend to be spies.
As much as many men have James Bond as their fantastical getaway, that's Ocean's 11, 12 and 13 for me. Now, Ocean's 8, sure, you can do it because it's a fair spin-off.
It's a fair spin-off.
You can do a spin-off and you can create a different, as you say, a spin-off of James Bond and have a female character.
A huge ensemble cast type thing.
And I think they're overlooking a big problem is what do you call them? What would you call the lead character as a female James Bond?
If it's Jane Bond, I'm leaving.
I would absolutely leave. I don't know where I'd go, but I wouldn't be here anymore. I think they should do it in a way that the female cat. I think that the producers should give in to the pressure, but be really resentful of it, and just call it James Blonde, and it'd essentially be like a Legally Blonde kind of comedy film, but she's called James
Jane Blonde.
Yeah, and it's like,
what about Jane Blonde?
Jane Blonde, yeah.
Jane,
and it's
the
like
name's Blonde.
Jane Blonde, and it's like she's a spy, but she's not very good at it.
Or it's like, it's all written by men.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a female. And it's like the most offensive portrayal, like giant tits, blonde hair, really. And it's like,
no.
And
it's really like the producers are going, well, there you go. This is what you wanted, isn't it?
And no one's happy.
Happy? No, it's shit, isn't it?
Great. That's
anyway,
them on the red
let's
carpet.
get Fassbender in now. We done? We done with this nonsense? Just resentful writing would be really good to see.
I do think woke Bond would suck though. And when I say you could write a female Bond that would be like an interesting film standalone. But I think what the tone that they would imply if they were getting a female Bond would be.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you want to, people trying to escape, you don't want a woke Bond. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want him to be a literal rapist like he was in the first 10 films.
Yeah, that's sure.
Like, obviously,
you bang on.
Like 80% of, up until the last 3 films, he's been a rapist.
I think we can say problematic. I think it's fair to say sex offender.
Literal rapist. He doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
That's not preserving.
His actions wouldn't be acceptable in college. 100% not. 100% not. We can move away from that to say that was, wrong. But you've got to have the character still has to exist through that. Otherwise, you lose the roller coaster of the ride that is James Bond.
Yeah. So what would you suggest? What do you think should happen?
Then it gets into that because I do agree. I was because my initial answer was
really
I
want
don't
it either.
really. I don't know.
I don't think they do.
Well, what I was thinking about it.
And I don't care, but I know a lot of men who do.
Yeah. Do you? Well, I think men care about it. I think a couple of women have suggested it, and a million men have gone against it.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about it in the shower today, and my conclusion was I don't really care. I don't care enough about the franchise. No. I think
I would care about how annoying the conversation around it would be.
Yeah.
And if it happens, I'm just like, I don't want that
conversation to be a
cultural
thing.
warfare. I just
yeah.
can't.
Because the film, if that happens, the film will never be good enough.
No, of course not.
And that's the problem as well. Like, because it could
But
genuinely
also, if
be
you
good.
look at all of the attempts to do like classic film, but it's a woman, they've all been shit.
Yeah, Ocean's 11 was not. Ocean's 8 was not good.
Wasn't great. There's was it not Charlie's Angels?
Oh yeah.
Something. Woke reboots. They're always shit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It's not necessarily.
remember it.
You know, there's not. It's not about representation. It's about rebooting an old thing, but
Yeah.
make it woke. It's just a bad premise.
Rebooting a classic has got issues anyway.
Yeah.
So when you try and drastically change it, I don't know, it just doesn't. It's more. I agree. I think the creative firepower behind it won't be enough.
Now, Black Bond. What do you think about Black Bond?
Well, I'm into Black Bond.
Yeah.
I think Black Bond is a nice step in where Bond can take a semi-woke direction.
Yeah.
Semi. I mean, it's not going to be drastically woke
He can
just by
still be
casting.
misogynistic.
Absolutely.
He can still-
Absolutely.
Don't worry, we'll balance it out.
Well, you could just no.
He can
I
still not respect
It's
women.
always like the problem is it'll be Elba's the guy for it, isn't he? And we're not big Elba fans.
I'm not an Elba fan.
We're not big Elba
you
fans.
like Luther, and I haven't really seen that.
Luther's good,
But I think.
But that's where he started.
my Andrew Scott is Idris Elba, who obviously is gorgeous. Obviously, he's like he actually broke down quite a few barriers as a British actor. But and he was in The Wire as well.
I know
But
that shocked me. I had no idea when I started.
And he's
watching.
had a mad career, and he does a lot of other stuff on the side and stuff. And he seems like a pretty cool guy. But as an actor, he's just so unbelievable.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is just
It's
Idris
Idris Elba.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys who's
Yeah,
just Idris
yeah.
Elba.
And I just think him as Bond, I'll be. You know, Daniel Craig was a pretty relative unknown when he got the role, and that was sick. And it was mad because he was blonde. Do you remember that? It was like the first James Bond one. It was like that was like what?
Yeah. God, the world's changed a bit since.
I think. I wonder. Do black people? Part of me is like, do black people want Bond? Is it that's semi important to me as well?
Yeah.
Is it
I think
because something that I would think would be much. I genuinely think this as well. It sounds is a gay Bond.
Yeah,
I'd be ready for gay Bond.
Oh, I'd be ready
for
for
some
gay
reason.
Bond.
I'm ready for gay Bond, and I think it would be for some reason
because you
less radical than a female Bond, or
Yeah, I
maybe
think
a
so.
black Bond, maybe.
Yeah, no, but more
Because there was that they had that homoerotic tension
for the
in one of the
fucking-
film,
just-
and I'm like, there's definitely by Bond because there's something cool about him being such a sexual deviant.
Yeah, I think that
he's
works.
just like.
Yeah, I'm ready for gay
Not
Bond.
saying bi people are sexual deviants, but you know what I mean. Just like
He's already a
he's
sexual
such a like a
deviant.
horny guy.
Yeah.
Not saying that all bi people are horny, but you know he's such.
When
a,
you
like,
keep having to say you're not saying that, it kind of sounds like you are saying that.
But I think that'd be cool. Like him, like one of the sex scenes would be fucking awesome if it was like a dude comes in and it just like they're starting a threesome and it's like two guys. And a
I
girl.
think just pure gay Bond.
Pure gay.
Like a hotel worker comes in with his room service. He sucks a dick.
Yeah, or like he like manages to seduce what the male.
Yeah,
villain
but just
through
imagine
being-
all Bond
through
girls,
being-
Bond guys.
What's a Bond guy?
Well, like a Bond girl.
What's a Bond guy that in your head? What's a Bond guy?
A Bond guy is a piece of ass.
Just
A piece of ass
like,
that the Bond wines, dines, has sex with, and
But is there, like, the
sometimes help with the mission.
Yeah. Okay, I think gay Bond. Genuinely, I'll be much more. on board
I'm into
with.
gay Bond.
I really.
I
Think
like
gay
gay Bond a lot.
I think that really would like because I don't think it actually compromises
Yeah,
the concept of Bond, but I don't know why.
it doesn't. Why would it? Why would it compromise it? Because
Well, because I guess the classic
'cause it's
Bond
promiscuous.
is a womanizing.
Yeah,
But the
a manonizer.
Yeah,
Simple.
A manonizer.
It's so easy. It goes into the character perfectly. You just change it for men.
I definitely think he should be bi, but it would drive people.
No,
mad.
he shouldn't. Pure gay. Pure gay Bond. Pure gay Bond, or I'm
Do you
I'm
think
out.
he has a comically like camp voice?
No,
Like cartoonishly
No.
camp?
no, because
Like pink vest.
again, that's when
The name's Bond, James Bond.
that's
Is
where
that...
that's where the problems come in.
Okay, all right. I was
Because
just checking.
he can still be. He's everything the character has always been.
Yeah.
He just fucks dudes.
Yeah, and he always goes like, "Are you really gonna wear that outfit?" Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. He's that guy. He's the same guy. It's just you could literally. Okay, well, I think a good test for this would be if we worked at the studio. What I suggest is we reshoot Casino Royale.
Shot for shot.
No, because I don't know who. I can't remember the actress was in it. So we reshoot No Time to Die, but instead of Anna de Armas, it's
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
You think he's a Bond boy?
He's a Bond boy. He's a Bond boy.
Yeah.
No, but just as a to see so exactly the same lines stay.
yeah.
Maybe if there's a reference to a cunt, we have to change it to a dick.
Cunt. Who's referencing cunt in Bond?
Haven't seen the film yet. What do I know? We're sitting
It's
here.
true. We know as much as the next plonker, huh?
If there's a reference to anything specifically feminine,
We make it. That's the only.
as in like
changes.
just so we won't be like, if there's any reference to a female part of the body that Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't have, we'll just change it to cock,
And
no
then
matter
that's
what
the
it
rest.
is.
Okay, I like that. That's a good.
Just so we can see how it works.
Yeah.
And I think it'll work exactly the same.
Right, Dream Bond. Don't say Danny DeVito.
Well, then why are we even asking this question?
Dream Bond.
Why do we even have to play this game? Now,
I mean, Danny DeVito.
I think
I
arguably Danny DeVito as Bond would be more progressive than a black Bond or a gay Bond. An ugly Bond.
A short,
A short, ugly Bond.
and that has never even been on the table.
Never on the table.
It's not even discussed.
Not
It's
even
like,
once.
You know, and ugly people are the majority of people, and they're not represented well.
If you want pure representation, I would say Danny DeVito is the most representative of.
But you can't. Yeah, but the problem is, there's no representative bodies for ugly people, and no one wants to be the spokesman.
No one.
No one wants to go on.
No
Good
one
Morning
wants to
Britain.
stand up.
No one wants to go on Good Morning Britain and speak
No.
up for ugly people's rights.
No. No. It's true. It's true. It's true. There's really no benefit of it. A Dream Bond. I don't know. I haven't given much
I can
thought
see
to
them
it.
giving it to Andrew Scott, which would be so annoying. I can just see it happen.
That's
or
how you-
fucking Tom Hiddleston. They're both fucking in line for it. Can you imagine?
Yeah, which would be Andrew Scott would be the most insufferable Bond.
Yeah.
On
Or
the planet.
imagine Tom Hiddleston, Scott's the villain. Oh my god.
Oh, why
God,
even bother?
Jesus Christ.
Honestly, wouldn't bother. I'm a big fan.
Toby Jones?
I'm a big. It would be. I want an ugly Bond.
Toby Jones. It's Danny DeVito versus Toby Jones.
I think
they're both two ends of the
I think we start off with gay Bond, and then once the world ready's for it, we go ugly Bond.
ugly Bond. That's the biggest step.
Ugly Bond's the biggest one. I don't know. Fassbender's in the equation. I'm
He
a big
is.
Fassbender fan.
Yeah.
I don't. The problem is for the
he's intense as fuck.
stint at which you do Bond is you're gonna have like at least 2 out of, if you do 4, let's say, 2 of them are gonna be shit. And I don't like seeing Fassbender in shit stuff.
It's true.
So it's like
But he has done a fair bit now.
he has done a fair bit,
So
but I
maybe-
can just ignore them.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be much conversation about
Yeah.
them. Assassin's Creed. But so I'd like to see him if it was sick and all of his Bonds are sick. But you don't want one of your favourite actors to go and do.
You don't want to burn.
You don't want him
And
to
it is
sign
like,
up.
It is kind of like being like.
Yeah.
Well, imagine Fassbender gets announced as the new Doctor Who.
To be honest, I'd tune in. I think that I'd absolutely tune in. Oh no.
I mean, Bradley Walsh was Bradley Walsh played fucking one of the assistants. Like that's a joke. That's a joke we would make for like.
Didn't even realise that.
Do you not know this?
I forgot it.
So there was a female Doctor Who, which I think's absolutely fine. It's like, for some reason that's different. I think that's definitely fine.
'Cause it's less about-
It's a Time Lord.
It's less of a gendered
who
role.
Regenerates
Yeah.
their whole body.
It's
Of
less of a
course,
gendered role.
100%. And for some reason they gave her like 3. No, and it was a Jodie. No, I forgot her name. And her assistant was Bradley Walsh because they flipped. It was now a male assistant. If we were coming up with who we thought would be the funniest assistant thing, it was one of the names we just throw off. Say Bradley Walsh. That genuinely happened.
Bradley Walsh isn't far off Danny DeVito.
It's
level
not
of
funny.
Ridiculousness.
It's not. I mean, Bradley Walsh's Bond is pretty funny.
Bradley Walsh's Bond. Again, insufferable. Because he'd think he's nailing it.
Yeah, he would think.
He'd think he's nailing it. And that's the problem. You can see, you want it to be, that's the casting of it has to be, they have to have a bit of Bond within them. They has to effortlessly use Bond. Because otherwise,
And
like, Scott doesn't
yeah.
use Bond.
No.
Hiddleston doesn't use Bond.
No,
No.
but they do in a basic way.
Hiddleston's
They have,
shuffling
like-
on like Graham Norton. It's not Bond.
Okay.
It's not Bond. He doesn't have that thing. Idris Elba does.
Do you think?
Michael Fassbender does.
Maybe. Yeah.
Absolutely, both of them do.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
IRL.
Zac Efron does.
No. Was that a joke?
That was a joke.
Yeah. Once you've been in Baywatch, you can't be in Bond.
Yeah. That's just one of the
I'm
rules.
sorry. It's
Yeah.
I don't.
Barbara
write them.
Broccoli made the rules.
Mum, is that a name?
Yeah. That's, the person who produces. They're like it's the Broccoli family. That is funny. Actually.
Barbara Broccoli.
And her dad, something Broccoli, started the franchise.
Oh, Ben
she
Broccoli.
carried it.
Billy Broccoli. If you've got a surname, if your family surname is Broccoli, you should only name your kids beginning
But
with
it
B.
is funny that this is in the panicked room, some panicked room in London when the economy's crashing.
Get the Broccolis on the phone.
The country's in crisis.
I wish I had a name like Broccoli.
Fuel crisis doesn't affect us.
No, because
we don't drive.
we've been smart consumers from day one.
Yeah. So
All of these people taking the piss out of us, saying, "Oh, you can't drive a car." Yeah, well, you can't fill up your car now. So the joke's on you, bozos.
It's nice to use that as well as our normal environmental defence that we like to bring out as to why we can't drive.
What was yours?
Well, mine was just because it's better for the environment to
Yeah.
get public transport.
Oh yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. What
Sorry,
was
I
the-
forget
what was the other
I
one?
forget our official line on it sometimes because we both know the true answer was laziness.
Yeah, because recently I've been feeling more anxiety about not knowing how to drive. So it has been nice seeing the fuel crisis. It's been like a brief, it's not long term annoyingly because it's going to get sorted out, but it was nice for a little treat to like really not at all be involved in any of that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice seeing other people in pain. That's not you, is what you're saying.
But also, seeing as it's actually one of the biggest political issues, and we are a cultural commentary podcast, we're not the most equipped to discuss
fuel.
Well,
we can read the news.
Can we?
I think. I think you don't have to stand in a queue for fuel to understand what's going on with it.
Okay, have a stab.
The fuel crisis. People are lining up outside petrol pumps in their thousands across Britain due to.
Do you know what's actually happened this time? Because you didn't know last time.
I did know last time. I did. I explained it to you.
No, and I asked
I
one
just
question.
didn't know the specific. Yeah, because what? Just because you
I
asked
asked the
one
first question and you're
about
like-
one thing.
It was like the most basic
And then
thing.
I said wholesale prices have gone up, and you went, oh, blah, 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 blah. I went, what are wholesale prices? You said, I don't know, and then we continued.
Okay.
What's happened is because of Brexit.
Doctor
and
Who.
Brexit, Bradley Walsh, and Doctor Who. It's unconfirmed.
So it was Brexit. That's what I asked.
It's
you.
unconfirmed the level of influence Andrew Scott has had in it,
but
we're all
there's
pretty
whispers
sure
around
it's
Whitehall.
pretty high. No, this one is to do with Brexit and COVID, meaning that there is a mass lack of lorry drivers across the UK to deliver fuel from outside of the world into Britain. Therefore, then the media reported that there was a lack of lorry drivers, not a shortage in fuel. They've been very clear to say that. However, I mean, the politicians have been very clear to see that, but we all know how the media works, based on crisis, to get viewers, blah, 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 blah.
We know that.
Because we do.
Don't need to bring it up. We know it.
So I can hear the comments coming through already. So then people heard shortage in fuel, which it wasn't actually shortage in fuel, and now they're panic buying fuel that's what's creating all these queues because everyone's driving their car to get fuel. And because of the amount of demand of people going to go and get fuel, there now is a fuel crisis.
Yeah.
But the politicians are still maintaining there's not a fuel crisis, and that once this panic buying eases, because panic buying usually only lasts for a short period of time, and then people realise normality still exists.
Yeah.
And that's going because people all have full cars now.
I'm really not a panic buyer. I just don't have it in me at all.
I don't have the energy.
I just don't. I see the panic buying and it's happening, and I haven't even, not even part of me.
Yeah.
I just don't have that.
I mean, you
just
could
don't have
safely say that
aspect of
given that you don't have a car
yeah.
on this one. Nah, I'm not a panic buyer. It's just not really my style, Just kind of more of a chill guy. It'll be all right, won't it? It'll be fine. Who needs petrol anyway?
So what? So it's Brexit, isn't it?
It's Brexit, but also there's been apparently there's been calls from different companies and stuff, and I don't know, politicians and think tanks probably, to address. Apparently, it's been a very long-term issue that people have seen coming for months. That there's been a massive shortage in lorry drivers because of COVID as well and Brexit. That they should have addressed, and that the government just essentially hasn't addressed until we've got to this point.
Yeah. Well, I think what stresses me out a little bit. Obviously, there's the Brexit, like the nitty-gritty economic stuff. I think it's the seeing comments of people in Europe basically enjoying it. That's what stresses me out the most. Is that how annoyed, how much we pissed off the whole of Europe because of how rude we were and how ugly the Leave campaign was.
Yeah.
That's what stresses me out the most. Is it's like, oh, they just don't like us and they're enjoying our pain.
Yeah.
And that's what's like. Oh,
You'd be exactly the same if you were French.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
If France left the EU, I'll be like, fucking.
No, if you were French and England left the EU, you'd be exactly the same.
100%. I know, it's not me judging them. I'm like, well, of course, because
you'd have a longer moustache, but you'd be saying the same
be
things.
like the fucking English.
Yeah. In English, which is weird.
Yeah, it's odd.
But yeah, that's it. And God bless them. They can hate us all they want. It does seem like we are living in this post-Brexit dystopia already. Given, I mean, we were talking last week. What were we talking last week about? What was the crisis before? It's completely.
I thought it was the fuel crisis.
No, it wasn't the fuel crisis. What the fuck was it?
Was it just shortages?
Oh no, the
it was like
energy crisis.
Energy. Oh fuck.
Energy.
Are they not linked?
That's what I haven't worked that out yet. I don't think they are. Because I think the energy is more outside of the
They're
UK
not
thing
linked.
as well.
That's fucked.
Yeah, it seems to be. But no, so that's why I remember we were talking about, because they were saying it must be in some ways, because they were saying the lack of foods on the shelves in the supermarkets was semi to do with the energy crisis, but that's also because of the lorry driver crisis. There's no one to deliver the fucking foods. Hence, I ended up paying £5 for a small order fee on Deliveroo when I hadn't delivered a small order or requested a small order. And
I
that's
do remember that.
That's
When
the
you
real
started
problem.
realising dystopian Britain.
That's-
We're living in
at
a
that
third
moment-
world. We're living in a third world
At that
country.
moment,
Yeah.
I realised everything was crumbling.
Yeah.
But it's a bit fucked.
It is a bit fucked.
I mean, it's one of those things where maybe we should start driving lorries.
Do you think?
Do you reckon?
Well, we don't know how to drive a car.
And where would we pick up fuel anyway?
It is stressful because I feel like with the Brexit thing, I felt after we'd sorted Brexit out, I was like, it's not going to be too bad. I'm ready.
Brexit schmexit.
Brexit schmecks. It was genuinely my feeling, and I was like, Remainers are kind of annoying as well. And if you're clinging on to the fact that we'll get into the EU, clearly the country wants to leave. Let's just try and make it the best possible. And maybe it won't be too bad. We won't get the benefits we had, but maybe we'll find different benefits. I was positive. But now it's just like Project Fear.
Now you can't order from Deliveroo without incurring a small order fee.
Like Project Fear is coming true.
Project Fear was true.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
no, the opposite.
I mean, I'm waiting for a crescendo of like, because there was a bit of stress when I was really pro-Remain during when Brexit just happened, when I was the most adamantly Remain, when I was like, it's kind of the worst case scenario, because if Brexit's a huge success, then Brexiteers will be never trust Remainers again, and semi-rightfully so. But if it's disaster, we'll just have to live in a shit country.
Well,
So it's about balancing up like the genuine economics or smugness. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's a smugness.
Do you think smugness is better?
It's a good
Because
question.
it's like, do we take
it's-
like a functioning country, or do we take the "I told you so" over?
Smugness is better, but the only thing I think about that is that the identity of Remainers and Leavers are pretty disintegrated now. There's not as much talk about it. Remainers and Leave. We're back into business as usual, party politics, left or right wing, or whatever the fuck you were. Why has no one ever made
Why
that?
is no one? Yeah,
Party politics, I love it.
yeah. Because the way you said it just there, we're back into party politics.
Party politics. We got Brexit out of the way, it's time to get back into party politics. But it's now we're just going to go back to the same narrative of like attributing long-term economic trends and issues to one individual in government who's been there for a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's saying it's not Brexit, it's this. No, it is Brexit.
No, it is.
I feel, but then occasionally you see people
There's no
pop
such
up
thing.
on your feed saying, I regret voting Brexit, and that makes you feel a little bit.
That's nice.
Dude, I feel a little something.
Yeah. Well,
When
I
it's
mean,
like, I didn't know
everyone-
what I was voting for. I was strongly, and I shouldn't have done it. I'm like,
Everyone who ardently voted Leave or ardently spoke about Leave should be feeling nervous right now.
I'd hope so.
That's the one solace you can get from it, because
But
you say,
what
well,
scared
look, this
me-
is the start of something that, come on. It's not just Brexit. It's not just Brexit.
Clearly, yeah.
But it's contributed to it. And it's just, it's quite an indication of how being cut off from the world isn't a good thing.
A comedian had a pretty good joke about Brexit, which kind of sums up how well. It's like, is asking the British public, do you hate immigrants more than you love money?
Yeah, that's the big question.
It is kind of like, to be fair, that is the perfect way to go. It is like, God, I really fucking hate immigrants. We're going to lose a shitload of money to get rid of them.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't mind like fucking our country up.
But I
because
think, but that also shows the class nature of Brexit, because most of a lot of
Less
lower
class.
class people, they don't have a lot of money.
I looked at the thing. I was very surprised. It was less working class than it had been made out. It was
Really?
surprisingly.
Well, you take a look at the thing.
I looked at the.
You had a peruse of the
I
thing.
had the peruse of the graph.
The big Brexit graph.
Yeah, but so when we basically the election of 2019 was sort of a second referendum of sorts.
Yeah.
And it was when Brexit was fucking up and there were so many disasters. It felt like the tide was shifting, because we're only reading liberal news outlets pretty much.
And you were in the ocean.
And I was in the ocean.
The tide was
that's-
shifting. That was a good joke.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
It's really thrown you off.
Yeah. But they doubled down on it, and it seemed like they were more supportive of Brexit than ever. So now I'm feeling like I don't know what would have to happen for.
Well, such as this post-truth world that we live in.
Like, so what? Nothing's going to be.
Because there's always someone else to blame it on. There's
and also,
always
like,
something
experts,
else to blame it on.
It's like,
experts don't exist. Truth doesn't exist. So in this post-truth world, there's no feelings of shame.
Oh God, what are you going to do about it?
Because you want that, you want that closure, don't you? Because even if
I do, I want it to be like, all right, we fucked up.
Yeah,
let's make up. But you guys were fucking wrong as shit.
And
so remember that next time.
Yeah.
Next time, just remember you guys fucked that one up.
Yeah. But in a polarized post-truth world, you just go more and more into your individual camps and take no responsibility for any actual effects that happen because of your decisions, because they don't even happen. They don't exist.
Do you think we need like a sort of like Stalinist communist state, or like a Chinese thing where we monitor all things and we let the government decide?
I think we need to rally around a common enemy, and that enemy being
Andrew Scott.
And
Doctor Who. Yeah, that is the scene of the United Way. We need something to define ourselves against. Doctor Who fans.
Yeah, identity is construction of identity as an external to another.
And I think
they're going to have to go. Andrew Scott.
He's going to have to go.
He's going to have to go. Yeah. But then once we rally our own... We know what we stand for because we know we stand against Andrew Scott.
I think maybe Andrew Scott, we can't
Andrew
kill
Scott's
him.
facial expressions.
We can't kill him first up. He needs to be a Bin Laden figure in the sense the search for him becomes the way to find it.
Correct.
So he needs to be hiding somewhere.
Good point.
Do you know what I mean? Because after they killed Bin Laden, they lost a common enemy.
You've got to have the fight to unify the people. We can't just click our fingers because there won't be enough of an antagonized attitude towards Scott.
Andrew Scott, yeah.
What we need is Scott to go on the run.
Yeah.
And we need to hunt Scott and combine ourselves
and his affiliates,
together.
I'm talking Hiddleston.
He or she, them or them. we need to bind ourselves together in the fight to find and kill Scott.
Yeah, I think that's the only way we can bring this country together. We've been the boys who hath gone wild.
Yes,
and you have been listening to that. See you next week.
Right to your local.